You're now currently working on a mixed-use development in prime central London. That's 8 units?
8 apartments and commercial at the bottom.
That sounds amazing that you're doing multi-million-pound developments. But why do you think you had the confidence and the self-belief that all these things you'd never done before, that you could find a way to just make them work?
I've always strived to be the best at what I can. I would make them tea. I would actually take biscuits and cakes. I realized that if I bought them food, builders love food.
What do you think is it about builders that gives them a bad reputation in our space?
I know exactly what it is. There's 2 things.
And we are back. Another episode of the Property by Kazy podcast, the PBK podcast. Back in the building each and every week with an amazing guest. Today I am joined by Daniel. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm not too bad at all. And you?
Oh, actually come in the black. You kept it on brand for us today.
Kept it black.
The PBK branding. I'm super excited to be here with you today. Recently, we had you on our development tour series where we went to go see one of your really interesting sites where you took an old bakery warehouse, probably worth, in its best case, do you know what I mean? 100,000, couple of £100,000, and that's super optimistic. How much is it now worth?
780.
780. So you've tripled the value of a property. That's starting out. If that doesn't make you want to listen on, I don't know what will. But that's just one of your smaller projects. You're now currently working on a brand new scheme of a mixed-use development in prime sort of central London location. That's 8 units?
8 apartments and commercial at the bottom.
And commercial on the ground floor. But I think for a lot of people, they want to take it back and say, cool, that sounds amazing that you're doing multi-million-pound developments. But where did you start? How did you get into property?
Right. Started off in kitchens, believe it or not, as a kitchen designer.
I was going to say cleaning them.
literally, it was designing kitchens. So I was basically I was a CAD designer, designing kitchens, high-end kitchens. So we're based out in Chelsea on the King's Road, and we was designing kitchens, selling kitchens. And from there on, obviously, every time we went to a site, 90% of the time, there was major refurbishments going on in the property. I took an interest of how the walls are coming down, steels are going in, and I was really nosy. I was used to just speak to all the contractors there. So I'm meant to go to site to measure up, and I'm there standing around once I've taken the measurements, looking at how everything's going. And that really interested me. And then from there on, a few months had passed, and I realized most of the people who came, who were ordering the kitchens for me, they asked whether I could recommend a contractor. And at first I just used to say no, because we didn't have any. But what happened is the more and more I went out onto site meetings and the more and more contacts I made contacts with these people. I used to take their number, whether it's the brickie, the steel guy, the main foreman, whatever it was. And I then, about a year into it, approached them and said, look, if I was to get a project, could you price it up for me? And they said, yeah, sure, no problem. So the next time when a client came in, I remember this, it was a fairly large kitchen on Edith Grove in Chelsea. It's a massive kitchen. I think it was coming to about 80, 90K. And she said to me, she goes, look, obviously, we haven't got a contractor in place yet. Could you recommend any? Or apart from your fitters, do you have anyone who does a full house refurb? As a matter of fact, I do, yes. And I said, okay, what I'll have to do, I'll speak to my guys. We'll come and have a site meeting, and we'll take it from there. So the first, I was quite nervous as well because I've never done it before, so I didn't know how to play it. It was just basically winging it. So I called Adrian. I said, Adrian, listen, remember last time I said if I get a project, you could help me out? He goes, yeah, sure. And I said, okay, look, so I've got something. I think it's just a small refurb, but I reckon we can run it. There's money to be made. He said, all right, cool, let's go. Anyway, went to the house. Once we went there, the lady didn't want just a small refurb. She wanted, like, say, a 6-meter extension, right? She wanted the rest of the house gutted, full brand new plumbing, heating, everything. And I was like, way above my head. I've done kitchens before, and I've seen how kitchens go in. But Adrian wasn't phased because obviously he's a contractor. He's like, no problem. So he came there very professional, took notes of everything. And then I said to the lady, look, I'll get a price back to you, and then we'll take it from there. Then I got on the phone to Adrian and I said, look, you give me a price. Once I've got a price from you, I'm going to present it as myself, as Opulence. And I was thinking, damn, I ain't got a company. So obviously I was working, I said, shit. So I was speaking to my missus, what do I do? And it was just like, say, I started a company, opened a company, got let headed together, just designed it just off the whim. And when I got the contract price from Daedrian, it was just looking at to see how much I can add on top, because it's the first time I've done it. You wouldn't know, and I was like, okay, look, 100 grand's a lot of money. I can do 100 grand. It'll be good. Took that on top. The lady accepted, and then from there on, I was like, that was my first project. And I was like, oh, this thing's all right, and it's a bit more interesting than just being behind the desk.
Yeah.
Then I done a couple more, 2 more like that, and then I stopped doing the kitchen design. Then I opened up Opulence as full, and having our own contractors, and then advertising our services as doing extensions. Then we've done a lot more extensions, bathroom refurbs, full house refurbs. And I think the first big project that we did, and there were 2 in a row side by side, was where we did a house conversion, 1 house into 3 flats in Croydon on Brighton Road. That came about because we done a small refurbishment for a client. It was an end client. They're a investment management. And they said, look, can you do flats? I said, yeah, we can. Never done one in my life. But I said, yeah, of course we can. And they said, look, we're buying this house. Have you got an architect? I was like, yeah, of course we've got an architect. I didn't have one. I just went and found one. So we basically took them through the full process of they bought the house. They said it's there. Do you reckon you can get 3 flats? I said, yeah, because we looked at 2 or 3 doors down. There were loads of flats. So I said, yeah, don't worry, leave it with us. We'll sort it out. I approached the architect, sourced a planning consultant. We put all the applications together for recording council from scratch. I'd literally telling the architect where we want stuff. And alhamdulillah, we got planning for free units. And then that was our main contract, because what we did, we charged the client a fee for getting the planning, doing the works, and we sold it for them as an exit strategy as well. And I thought, this is even better than just doing a small refurb. Then that client told another client that's what we're able to do, and they said, this is what he's doing. They said, yeah. I said, have you got a property? And they said, no. And we said, okay, no, we do that as well. And they're like, what's that? I said, I can source the property for you. I can get the planning for you. We can build out the flats for you, and then we can sell them for you. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Because what I found is a lot of the people, or the people that we were basically in talks with at the time, they were asset rich or cash rich, but time poor. They were doing their own jobs in their own industry, but they wanted to dabble into property or to be able to make another passive income. So they just basically approached me. And then again, in Croydon, we've done another one house on Brighton Road, again, literally 2 doors away from where we'd done the first one. And I saved on architect fees, because I got another architect this time, but I said, look, I've got the DWG files from the original one. It's just a mirror effect, so you can't charge me the same amount. Yeah. You're not doing the same amount of work. It's easy. He said, okay, yeah. So I remember this because I got him to design 3 flats for me for like £1,000. So I was well happy, because at that time you got to save wherever you can on the initial outcost, because I haven't charged the client yet because we haven't obtained the planning. So if they've invested and bought the house at that time, say they've got funding on it, or they've got mortgage on it, or they've bought it on a bridge, right? It's costing them money from the day they've completed. So it's our job to be able to get the planning as quickly as possible. So once we've obtained the planning, he was happy, built out 3 flats, sold them. And me and Wood are thinking, hold on, this is all right. And I'm thinking, all right, we charged them. I remember, I think we charged them for 3 flats at that time, all in, including material and stuff. It came in about 220 grand, 225. And then we looked at when all the estate agents were coming in and out, and we're looking at what a property is selling for. So hold on. So he bought the house for 400. We've charged him like 230. He's at 630. So the 3 flats they sold for, I think it was 1.1 or just under 1.2. I was like, Mooch, like, this is my business partner. He's not here right now.
That was definitely that was help to buy times. If I hear Brighton Road and hear those numbers, I know that's help to buy.
Yeah, 100%. It was help to buy.
Right now, we've got something like 4 flats on Brighton Road. And even now I'm looking at them like, if I walk away with 1.5 there, I've had a good day, because just help to buy.
Well, help to buy. That's why, because at that time, I didn't even know about help to buy. We just, because we were still learning. Do you know what I mean? It was just a learning curve going from, just like, say, when you're used to just doing kitchens and an extension, then you're doing lofts. It's just all a learning curve. It's just basically being ballsy enough to do it.
But then let me ask this question, because a lot of people are going to hear this, and it's like, it reminds me of this video with this influencer where, like, it's a lady called Nella Rose, and they're talking about like, they asked the question, how do you make money? And she's like, yeah, you just find a house, flip a house, sell a house, you make money.
Yeah.
And I know people probably hearing you are thinking, so you was working, and then you were like, oh, build a house, refurbish your house, make money. Like you made it sound very simple, but like
Yeah.
from a
It's not that simple. Yeah.
but
I
what my
was still,
question is like from a personality point, why do you think you had the confidence and the self-belief that all these things you'd never done before, that you could find a way to just make them work? Running a business is a constant uphill battle. You pour your heart and soul into it, working tirelessly to build something meaningful. And with interest rates rising, the opportunity to grow your hard-earned savings feels like a lifeline. As a business owner and investor myself, I know the frustrations of seeing your money dwindle while inflation soars. And that's why I was thrilled to discover Tide's business savings account. With a competitive rate of 3.81 AER variable, it's a game changer. Imagine seeing your savings grow month on month instead of slowly eroding. Tide's account offers instant access to your funds with no withdrawal fees and FSCS protection up to £85,000, giving you both peace of mind and flexibility. Don't let rising costs and economic uncertainty hold back your business. Take control of your finances today. Tide is generously offering new members a boosted rate of 3.81 AER variable, where new Tide members receive a 0.77 AER boost on the standard 3.04 AER rate until the 1st of June 2025. After which the rate goes back to 3.29 AER with no interest on balances above £75,000. It's time to give your business the financial boost it deserves. Check out the link in the description to learn more. And if you sign up with my code PROPERTYBYKAZYQ1, you'll get £100 cash back when you fund £5,000 into your account in the first 30 days of opening. Terms and conditions apply. And for full details, visit tide.co/savings. Rate correct as of 6th of February 2025. Now back to the video.
I had to. At the time, in between, when I left, right, as a kitchen designer, whatever, whether it be training in the gym, whether it's when I was doing the kitchen, before that I was in finance, I've always strive to be the best at what I can. When I was doing the kitchen design, even as a kitchen designer, I was on good money. This is between 2007 I was getting paid 100 bags. That was good money for a kitchen designer. But I was also a lot of my designs were reviewed.
Kitchen designers looking at this being saying, "Can I see your contract, please, mate? Why was you getting that much money?"
Bro, I was getting poached. So I was when a couple of my designs were reviewed on KBB, and when I was in a basic of around, say, 50, when I was at Just Give, we was on a basic of around 55, but I was on 23% commission, all the kitchens that were selling. Remember, on King's Road, the average price of the kitchen that we were selling was between 45 to 65,000. Yeah. An average designer sells 1 or 2 a month. I was banging out 4, sometimes 6 a month. It was just having because I wouldn't provide a solution just for the kitchen, because I was creative in the sense that I like to make things look pretty or good. So when I was going to site to the client, I was giving them ideas about where the island should to be. Basically, design a kitchen that's ergonomic. We would sit down and design and consult. I would consult the person, say, "How do you use your kitchen?" And they were confused. Like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Are you right-handed, left-handed?" They're looking at me like, "What's this guy on?" Like, well, I'm just buying a kitchen. I said, "Okay." So I said, "When you're preparing your food, do you just get all your ingredients in one place and bring them to the chopping board and just make everything here and then wash it in one place and then put it into the pan? Or are you a person that goes to the fridge back and forth to retrieve the things and then do it?" And they're like, "Why are you asking me?" And then I'll do 2 or 3 designs. And then my design will reflect where they are. So you would have your cooking station of where your hob is. And I would make sure that if they're right-handed and stuff, the fridge is always to the right. Or it's in a place where it's not where the island is. Because if you have an open plan kitchen, and if people want to be able to retrieve their drinks and cold beverages while some person's cooking, if you're having a party or entertaining, you don't want them to cross over where you're cooking. So small details like that.
Yeah.
And obviously people talk. They're like, "Okay, this guy's helped me design just not my kitchen space, but my living area, because you told me where to put the plants and where to basically hang my pictures." So rather than just sell the kitchen, I was selling a full interior service. And that's what made me in demand for them to be able to, and obviously for me to earn my commission, the amount that I was earning.
No, definitely. And I think it makes sense. Like for a lot of people, when we look at 9-to-5s and day jobs, we often forget how much of those skill sets transitional into doing new things. So your ability to deliver and understand a customer's needs is going to transition into your ability to understand their needs when it comes to renovating their entire
100%.
house. For me personally, actually, let me ask you this question. Now that you've been like a mains contractor, given the choice, would you rather do a project for an owner-occupier or a developer?
Oh,
See,
Okay, I'll say, so at the moment we've got two.
Yeah.
We've just finished one. I'll tell you, we just finished that. We finished a £5 million house in Wimbledon Village. That was an end user. Lovely, lovely lady. Lovely lady. But the snagging should have completed about 3 months ago. It's still going on now because there are. It's good because I like attention to detail is very important. I agree, but there are some things that are very, very tedious in regards to where you're looking at something. So we. Sometimes, like say, other people take the piss. So me and Mudge, and it'll come out, people who know us as well. So I call it a 1 mil tolerance. So on our site, when we build something, whether it's the tiler, whether it's the carpenter, whether someone's painting something. Say, for example, I remember we designed a kitchen for someone, right? And they were laying the tiles. And then it was like a U-shaped kitchen, right? And in the middle was the cupboard where the sink was. So I said to the tiler, I want the grout line of the center tiles to line up with the door of the cabinetry in the middle. And he said, okay, no problem. And the cabinetry was basically it wasn't tight enough. There was like 3 mil gap. So I got the kitchen fitter to adjust the doors and the hinges. So they're just 1 mil. And he goes, okay. And then the tiler said, I can't do that. He said, look, I've used 2 mil spaces everywhere. Can I just change that? And I said, okay, I want you to split the 2 mil on the 1 mil line. He goes, damn, what are you doing? So it's things like that. So we have attention to detail. This client is taking it above that. She's like looking at, like, you know, when you have like a spot or a speckle. So she's holding back. So we've got retention at the end, right? So it was quite a big contract, but I think she's holding back like 48 bags, 47 grand. And the last 12 weeks have been us running through the snag list to be able to get that. Lovely woman. She appreciates what we've done. She loves our work, but it's very, very tedious. Now, the developer side of things, the last 3 developments that we've done, the one in Fulham, the one in Chelsea, where we're doing in Tower Bridge now. The first one gave us full reins. Said, Daniel, look, we like your creativity. We saw what you've done in Croydon before. Can you give us the same kind of products? I said, yeah, no problem. So they will get involved to a certain extent of, like, say, colour of the flooring, the type of flooring, or the bathrooms of the kitchen, but they give us full reins. That means we are able to source our own suppliers, our own goods and things like that, and design a place in a way where we're not constrained to whether they want green paint or blue paint and stuff like that. So it makes our life a lot easier. There is some pressure on that though, because if we design it in a way where when the estate agents coming around and the valuations happen and they're like, it's not going to sell because that feature wall is too bold or the bathroom's too dark, the emphasis is on us. It comes back. Yeah, everything comes back.
Because the reason I ask is that, like, for me personally, it's a no-brainer. Like, whenever I've done stuff, I work with developers all day long. They're like, look, I need this house to be worth 1.5 million. All right, fine, no problem. This is the price to get it to 1.5 million. As long as you hit that number, they're not that fast. Yeah. Like you said, left hand, right hand. Oh, nope, sorry, you've got to change the wiring round because I just realized I always walk through this door holding like a cup of tea in my left hand, and if the switch is on the left, then I've got to reach
I've heard
around.
it all before. Yeah.
I've had, like you said, tolerance wise, where I get it, but like I had to take up like an entire tiled floor because the pipes are coming out of the floor, and I've got the client going there with like a ruler showing me that, well, it's 11 mil off the wall at the top and it's 13 mil off the wall at the bottom.
Yeah, bro, that's my life story. We've had that. Yeah.
And I get perfection, but also it's like there's an element of give and take, because otherwise I might as well move in. If you don't have a spare room, I might as well move in because I'm going to be here forever.
And I'm in a situation now. So with Laura, lovely woman. I mean, the house that we've done is amazing. And the finish is like, if you see it, it's fantastic, right? But there has to be some form of like you said, give and take. Otherwise, it drags out the contracts even longer.
Like when you're meeting clients, have you ever just walked away just from meeting a client outside of the budget making sense? You just thought this person's going to be too much headache.
I tell you what happened, right? So the only time I've ever walked away, I don't like to walk away from a job. The only time I ever walked away from a job was, this was someone else's contracts, but I was basically drafted in to project manage their build, right? It was a fairly large build. So I remember this was literally just after. So we done Nicholas and Elka's house when he used to play for Chelsea on Parkside. Right, so he bought a house in Parkside, and what happened? A very wealthy family, literally next door, had bought the house next door, and they saw me that I was basically doing all the works on site. But their architect and themselves have already appointed a contractor that they had on site. And I think everything was fine, but she wasn't getting along with the main foreman, right? So the foreman wasn't there. Then she approached me and said, would you like to, or could you manage the project for me? I said, yeah, okay, no problem. And then what had happened was she was an Oriental lady and has earned all her money from being very, very successful as a trader. She was an investment banker and a trader. And what happened was every other week I would see how she would treat the guys that were there. So obviously the contractor had their own team, but I subbed in some of my own guys there as well, right, to help out, whether it was to do the carpentry, the painting, decorating. And she treated them like shit, basically. She looked down at them, right? Didn't respect them, didn't respect basically the work they were doing. A lot of them were on obviously some of the labourers there when we had to clear out all the garden and stuff, not on much money. She would do things. So for example, obviously, I remember the day because what happened, she made a lot of money on one trade or something that happened. And she had, from Dick Lovett Ferrari, she had she bought her husband a Ferrari and she had it delivered right in the middle of the driveway while we were all working. Didn't give a shit that the skip was there, labourer was there, nothing. Bought it in just to literally just show off. That's what she was. She was literally a show off. And at one time, she shouted at one of my guys. And I remember this because what had happened, he was eating something. He was on lunch anyway. He said he'll clear up after himself and he dropped his packet or something. She went ballistic. She went mad. And I said, okay, listen, it's all right. It's outside. It's not in your house. They're sitting outside because she didn't even allow us to go to a certain part when we're at the end, right? Anyway, and when she started swearing, I said to my guys that were going to walk off, I said, I'll give you one last warning. We're going to walk off. I said, you can't disrespect a person like that, a human being like that. It's not right. I don't think you know who you are. And I remember I laughed and I said, okay, let's go. When we was about to pick everything up. So my guy had this toolbox, right? It's a Stanley Fat Max. So it looks like material outside, but it's heavy because he's got everything in there. Yeah. And she wasn't wearing like, say, proper shoes or anything. They just look like, them like ballet plimp soles. And she wanted to show that she's pissed. So when she turned around, she thought it's a soft, like a backpack or something, and she booted it. Literally booted the thing, right? And I know it must have broke her toe because she went for it. And I laughed. And at that point, I said, now, apart from abusing my guys, you're actually like, say, kicking around our tools. I said, we're off. I told everyone to pack up their bags and go. And that's the only time I've ever left the job or ever told the client that I'm not coming back, because it was just out of disrespect for my guys that work there.
Do you think there's anything like for people maybe starting out, just even like small scale, they might be doing some laminate flooring and some decoration, but from meeting a client, are there any red flags that you're like, this is going to be someone that's difficult to work with when meeting people?
The first red flag you got to look out for is if the first invoice you've issued, if they haven't paid the full amount and they said, oh, I'm just holding some back, or I'll pay 15K for now and I'll give you 25 later. That on the first two, and if that happens in the first quarter of any job, that's a red flag. And say, look, there's a contract in place. We always do everything by contract, right? So you have a JCT in place, or you've got a written contract in place. With the contract, you'll have a schedule of works. With next to the schedule of works, most importantly, you'll have a cash flow forecast. And I highlight the cash flow forecast and say that the works to be entailed will be directly linked to these amounts. So I will do these. Once these tasks are completed, this is the amount that we need. That's the first month. Then everything else is basically in hand. So that means that I will say, okay, next month we've got to do this, this, and this, and we will need this amount. If we don't get that amount, then we won't do the full task. And if at the time where they've changed their mind more than 3 times, that's a red flag. I've had that before as well.
As like, look, because obviously now you're going to get onto you being a developer, but you're also on the other side as being a mains contractor. And as developers, we have a love-hate, often more hate relationship with builders.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is it about builders that gives them a bad reputation in our space? Like, what?
I know exactly what it is. There's 2 things. There's 2 things that main contractors and builders do. And I'm not trying to change the industry. I'm just trying to be different in regards to, right, okay, the main thing is communication. That's the key to any project.
Yeah, I don't think builders think emails exist.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, Jenny don't
And
think they think
email,
that's a form of contract.
bro, and emails is a safeguard for both you as the contractor and the client, because there's no ambiguity, there's no gray area. You can say, you said this, and because you said this, we are now doing this. It can't be, oh, but because they can change their mind. I didn't say that. On the day that they change their mind, on the day that, say for example, you've got specification, if they've requested this, say no problem, okay, it will be this. In most cases, if it's like, say for us as a contractor, because we do the larger scale builds, if it's not major and it's not going to take us more than a day, we don't really amend the prices. But if they start changing their mind completely on the type of the floor or the color,
so
whatever,
someone goes from like having 60 by 60s to I want like
we've had this before,
180 by 180 tiles, and all of a sudden,
or like the larger tiles that we put in, like say two, because like, they were very fragile as you install. Then people have got to understand it's the amount of adhesive going down, the labor costs going down, all of that.
People to hold it up,
literally. And so we have to say, look, due to our site meeting on this day, blah blah blah, you requested that we'll do this for this reason, in accordance to the JCT contract, this much is what we do. And what Opulence has done from day dot, we have a WhatsApp group. So every build that we've done, whether it's based, at the moment we've got a Tout Bridge group, so we've got people on there. Then we had Queen's Road, where we've done the Wimbledon project, in Dulwich, whatever it is. We'll put the foreman on there, the client on there, me and Mudge will be on there. Any decisions made, any discussions, you'll have it on WhatsApp, it's there. But more importantly, it makes the client feel comfortable, because that is a weekly report. Because when we're doing a full house, they're not always there. So every other day, whatever we've done in terms of from the first 2 days when we're doing demolition, it's very important. Clients get really worried. They're like, shit, back of my house has been knocked out. Do you know what I mean? And they'll see, how demo and the strip out is a lot quicker than towards the end when everything else goes down. It looks like
every project you start, you think, this one's going so fast.
It's exactly the same. Yeah. So when you start and the client's thinking that, and then afterwards, when you're installing certain things, that's where basically things slow down. It slows down. Yeah. So I would say communication is one of the main things. So you've got everything listed. And the other thing is to be honest. Every project that I've done, I can hands on heart say not every single one runs smoothly. It doesn't. There will always be hiccups, whatever it could be, anything from just power or lighting, or someone's broken something, anything. You have to be honest with the client and say, look, this is what's happened. It will take us this long to rectify it. We are going to rectify it. Once it's done, it will be exactly like this. The client will appreciate honesty. And with honesty comes integrity. You can't take the piss with clients. You have to tell them where you are, what stage it's going to be. Say, for example, managing people's expectations. If you know something's going to take you, if a project's going to take 6 months on a contract, Mujah's not here, he'll tell me off, because I usually say, yeah, let's just put 7. He goes, no, Dan, let's put 8.
Yeah,
because he will always say, look, we've seen what's happened in the past before. So I has a always add more. The client, if you put 8 months down on a contract, and you get it done in 7, the client's going to be ecstatic. It's going to be happy. But if you've put 8 months and you're 8 months and 2 days, you've got it. The client's holding back money and saying, I'm not paying this, I'm not paying that. It's costing me this much money. The last project that we did, one of the projects that we've done, again, there's a trend to this. I think the more wealthy people you're dealing with, the more like, say,
finicky.
It's
interesting.
And they're like, so I remember, right? And what happened was, and luckily I had to cover myself because the structural engineer got involved, because there was a lot of steel going into this place, right? And they turned around and they saw that it's not going to be completed in time frame we said it would. And they said, look, we're currently in an Airbnb, but obviously our contract's ending. So we're going to go to a hotel. If this doesn't finish by this time, okay, it's going to cost you about £600 a night. And I was like, I'm calculating. I was like, hold on, we're still at least like 1.5 months away. That's a lot of money. I was like, no. So I had to go back again, the key to write things down where it's emails and everything else. And I remember, not under the contracts, but the structural engineer had put under their prelims and the conditions that because we were unaware of the ground conditions and where 2 of the beams were to be laid, because we didn't figure out which way the drainage is going, it would be ad hoc. That part of the project would be ad hoc. There wasn't a date confined to it. And then that paragraph was a part of a condition under the JCT 2016. And that's what saved us. Otherwise, that would have been all our profit wiped off in one.
And I think it just goes back to how important like communication is on both sides.
Yeah.
Because realistically, I think, to be fair to clients, a lot of the time, And even as developers, we don't know inside and out of construction.
Yeah.
So there's always a lot of what if, a lot of potential ambiguity.
On every project.
And the more you say, okay, well, and I always say, look, I generally tend to write my own contracts. I don't want to let my contractor write it and then me just be in a rush to sign something.
Yeah.
I'll write the contract so I know, look, for the avoidance of doubt, I am paying for X, Y, and Z. If it's not here, it's assumed the contractor is paying for it.
Correct.
They can then go back and be like, well, actually, I would actually expect you to pay for all of the adhesive and the grouts. We don't know what type you're going to use. I would expect, you also need to use all the self-leveling compound because don't know and it's like you can then create a contract that makes sense for both of you. But
our contract, when we were originally doing it, right, it was all written in Word. I'm going back to 87 years ago, right? And again, it's a learning curve because it just used to be like 1 or 2 pages. Now our contract is like 8 pages.
Yeah.
Because what you're taking, so you've got the standard terms and conditions, you've got basically what the assumptions are, what's included, what's not included. And when we've got architectural drawings or any plans from the architects, we will refer to the drawing, say, this is the drawings on this in accordance to this wall's been taken out. Because this wall's been taken out, the structural engineer says this, so everything will be done in accordance to that. Then at the bottom, we also have a declaration, say we are responsible for this. Any other or additional works outside of this contract will be at a chargeable rate. Do you know? We have to do that.
It makes as much sense as possible. It's interesting you also mentioned about obviously all the different people involved, like your architect, the structural engineer, the interior designer. Like a lot of stuff is like there's a lot of moving parts, and then even beyond that, a lot of stuff's constantly changing in regards to building regs. Do you how do you find managing all those different people and bringing it all together?
So basically, you have to have. I'm quite hot-headed, and I'm probably going to laugh whoever knows me on site as well, in the sense that and then also quite stubborn, right? Especially when it's our own build, right? When we're dealing with a client's build and we've got their structural engineer to deal with or their interior design to do, and interior designers, I don't like these. They come across, most interior designers, 90% of the ones that I've dealt with are very understanding and they work with you because sometimes what the client wants, right? They defy laws of physics. They got to understand from a contractor's point of view.
Like,
they're going to build something.
My ceiling, I need this to float. And you're like, it's got to sit on something. You're like, I don't want to have a beam.
I want the angles to go like this, but when I would want the mirror here, I want it to be flat. I was like, but there's nothing behind the mirror because you've got vaulted ceilings. So how do you want the mirror straight? It has to go on the back. And they go, no, because I won't be able to see them when I'm showing. Okay. I said, you devise something. You tell me how that's going to be possible. But over time, we are now in a position where when we're working with the people that we're working with, I will say we've got an interior designer that we work with, or I still carry out most of the interior designer work. Right? So it's internalize it. And I said it will be better if, and I recommend an architect to you. We've got a couple at hand that we've been working with, and I said it will be better if you work with them. And I've got synergy with them. They understand my frame of thinking. Because the other thing is, right, when we say, for example, with developers, when we inherit a build, when we're just contracted to do a build and an architect has done a building, right? The building plans, the architectural plans, they are done literally just to make planning officers happy, to get it through planning, right? When you're a contractor and you're looking at it, right? Because we've done enough builds to read that and you're like, nah, that's not going to work. Like you're looking at it and you're like, no, that's not possible.
As a builder, will you quote off just the architectural drawings, or will you always say you need a full building control package?
We can guesstimate, and we will put, when we're doing the JCT contract, we'll put provisional sums. The reason being is because there is so much ambiguity. Like I say, you and I walked in, when you buy property, now, like say for our own project, when we buy a house, we walk in, especially like when it's like auctions, when you're looking at auctions, right? You don't have X-ray vision glasses. So you can't see which way the plumbing's running or underneath where the electric work is, or whether it's got dry or not. So there's a lot of assumptions, and that's where you're going to have to put some provisional sums when you're doing a cost sum analysis on the refurb, right? On a bigger build, like so the last one you visited on Tower Bridge, where we're building, you've seen the amount of steels that's gone in there. Just the foundations and rebars, I think there's about, I don't know, maybe 100 grand, over 100 grand's worth of steel and concrete just in the subfloor. And no one would know that when you're buying a building like that, because you didn't know that it's next to a grade 1 British heritage wall, and because of the way the sewage and the Thames water is running underneath, you're going to have to devise it in a way where the steels can't go or pile it all the way through. That kind of thing you can't ever imagine.
And that's why I said, even if you take it back to, because a lot of people watching this are maybe going to be working on a lot smaller projects, but I think to protect yourselves as builders, you have to kind of say, look, sort of roughly, this is what it will cost you.
As a
However,
guesstimate.
to be able to give you a full, like, a full quotation, I'm going to need BC drawings, like building control drawings. And I think from a client's perspective or as a developer, you should really be engaging with your architect as an early stage as possible. As soon as they're saying, look, the planners have said, I'm going to recommend this for approval, you need to be saying, look, I want a full like BC
Structural drawing
package. I want my
and building
structural
control.
drawings. I might even down to, do you want a full
Drainage.
stage 4, like with where your second fix is going to go? Because ideally, if you know that, well, okay, it's 67 electrical points and I'm charging this much a point, that's exactly how much your electrics are going to charge.
Yeah. And where they're going.
Also, okay, another question. As a builder, do you think it's the builder's responsibility to be entirely up to date with regulation? Or do you think, it's kind of...
1,000,000%.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of builders...
1,000,000%. You have to be.
I'll be telling them, like, they'll be like, we're changing these ceilings. And then they'll just be putting up like a single plasterboard. And I'll be like, no, now, if you're changing it, it has to be an hour's fire protection.
Yeah, no.
Look,
I'm a firm believer in education, and knowledge is power. So as a contractor, and some of the builds that we worked on, the type of houses that we would do now, I'd like to give you most recently the where we have been stumped as well, where we've had to pay extra for. So again, in our own tooting build, where we're doing the 2 flats.
Talk to me about some of these changes that have got you, because we can exchange
it happens.
stories.
Bro, it happens. So for example, everyone used to do 100 mil cavity walls, right? You can't do 100 mil cavity walls anymore. Yeah. They want a minimum 150. Yeah. Now you can do 100 mil cavity walls, but when you're doing 100 mil cavity walls, you've got to use Kingspan K106. And if everyone's used Kingspan K106, it's like 3 times the price of normal insulation. 3 times. So at the cheapest that I found at the moment, I'm on the internet scouring, because the big house that we're doing, it's in Streatham. We're gone from like, say, like a 2,500 square foot to like 6,000 square foot.
Well, who told you to go down 2 stories of basement?
You see that?
So I did see that, and that's why I said, this is a labour of love project.
That's a big build.
Because you went down 2. That's right. I'm saying that.
Yeah.
So you got the basement.
Have you seen the picture with Mudge standing there? You see how deep it is.
Yeah. So it's like one of those. Just
again, so not everyone can do basements. We're approved and regulated by Delta Membrane to be able to do basements like that. Basements, you need to have heavy PI insurance. You're talking about millions and millions, right? And on top of that, it costs 10, 20, 30,000 pounds to basically have insurance like that. Not every contractor has that. Now, the house that we were building, when we started the build, okay, that reg weren't into place. This was about 1.5 years ago. Now the regs have changed. So the entire cavity, full perimeter of that house, which is now going to be 3 stories, okay, all of that has to be in Kingspan K106. And then that will basically increase your cost by a lot.
How much did that increase your cost by?
Oh, a lot. At the moment, I think we've spent so far about 18.5K or 17.5K. Just on insulation, and we're a third way through. Yeah. So that's a lot on insulation. But the thing is, the other thing is when someone says you got to do what I like to do, it's a great product though. So when you learn, okay, so what they've just about to patent, you think, hold on, this is 90 mil thick. It provides you the same U values as something that's like 150.
It's 150 with an air gap.
With an air gap, it's waterproof. It will decrease damp by 100%. And you're like, why don't we use this more often? And then after, when you find out how the cost is, you realize how much it is.
That's why we don't use it.
But yeah, so for example, when electrics, when you've got basically, when they change up to 18th edition and things like that, certain regs change. Like about 5-6 years ago, when we were doing just refurbishments at a house, not new build, if they had an old consumer unit where it was plastic, and we said, look, if we're about to alter any circuits internally of your property and my electrician has touched your, because we have to change it. So then we would add, say, 4 bills of £450, and that will mean that we will upgrade your consumer unit to the new metal one and then give you a new certificate. But
I think that's the thing, and it's understanding what your builder does and doesn't know with every scenario, because obviously where you're employing like a large contractor, JCT contract, you're going to have certain expectations. If you're refurbishing, like, we do that in some of these 1 to 2 bed straightforward refurbishments, you're maybe managing individual trades. They're just coming in to do their job.
Yeah.
They're not looking at the whole project and the whole sign off. And they've got to understand that then as a developer, that onus falls entirely on you.
Yeah.
Also, even more so, particularly with the new declarations you have to do off the back end of building control, you got to understand that even more responsibility falls on you. So I just say that to say that if you are going ahead and starting projects earlier on, make sure you understand what your builder does and doesn't know. And if they don't know everything in relation to regs, then basically get your architect to design your building control package like
And
it's
have it like a template.
IKEA.
Yeah,
Like,
literally like stage
first
by
do
stage.
Step one, then
Yeah,
step two,
yeah.
insulation this thick, plasterboards this side, steels this. Let them tell you everything.
And that can be a manual for, but the other thing is, right? So going back to what you said earlier, not everyone's going to be doing the size of projects that we're doing. If you're starting off small, Excel is going to be your best friend. You have to run costs. You have to run spreadsheets. I'm not very good at it. Mudge is. So basically he does back. Well, what I mean by that is if you look at what tradesmen get paid now, I'm talking about good tradesmen, right? But my tradesmen, they're you've seen when you've come to my site, right? The cars they drive, they get paid good money. But I've developed my team and they've been working with me for well over 7 years now. So I had to retain them by keeping them happy. But to get a good sparky on a day's job, you're looking at 350, 400 pound, right? Plasters make about 200 pound a day. Yeah. Brickies are making a free bills.
Game. Let's dispel some myths.
Go.
I'm going to tell you the trade. You're going to tell me how much a good one gets paid a day.
Yeah.
So we'll go for the ones you said. So Sparky, electrician, how much?
A good sparky.
Yeah.
Minimum 4 bills.
Okay. So gas safe certified plumber.
If he's coming in just to, like, say, change a few radiators, again, it's going to be like 300-400 pound. If he's going to be changing a boiler, and they can do that. They can say, loads of our gas boilers, they can change a boiler in a day. It will charge you anything between 7 bills to 900 pound a day.
Yeah, fair. Okay, what about a chippy? Someone doing the woodwork?
Yeah, see, chippies vary so much because a lot of people say they can do carpentry work, right? But there's a big difference. Yeah, a good carpenter and a chippy, right? A chippy can like hang doors and do a bit of skirting, and you cut them out. They're about 250 a day. Yeah, but a good carpenter that can make, like, say, something look opulence, had opulence to in the finish, right? You're talking about you'd have to pay him between £400 and £500 a day, but it's his quality of finish is worth every penny, because if you think about it, how the way the door looks, or the way the frame is finished off, or if you're having a feature wall done and it's made with wood, it's important. Yeah, so those kind of things
can definitely see. Okay, we're going to ask you a few more quick fire ones. Plasterers
usually charge per square meter, so you got anything between, like, say, £12 to £18 a square meter. In Central, where we're at, it's a lot more. And I think anyone who's doing plastering job, if you're just starting off, just get a price job. So just tell them to come to the house and they've seen it, because what you don't want to do, if they see that the person who's put up the plasterboard, it's like one plaster's here and it's here, he ain't going to be able to bond that difference out. That first of all, he's going to have a good finish to be able to work with, where he's just, and the tapers joint's done, or you're asking him, are you doing the tape and joint first and then basically doing the plastering? Is there any bonding involved and not? And then for you to keep your costs down, just do a price job. So say, look, you got the whole house, do the top floor first and the bottom, and it'll be far cheaper for you.
Okay, a couple more people. Tilers.
Ooh, right. So tiling recently, there's a big game changer, because you got all these tilers now do TikTok videos and they're on Insta and they're doing these mitre joints, right? Which is craftsmanship.
One of this black guy, I can't remember his name. I used to love it. I don't know, I haven't seen him in a while. He used to be all over Insta and TikTok, but everything was so clean.
Again, so there's a guy now, literally just finished off Muj's house, I think it's Elite Mitre or whatever it is. A guy called Yasin, right? Bro, his attention to detail is something else. Again, so the reason I like him, he's working to a 1 mil tolerance. And I said, look, that's the guy we need on our team. So he's done, apart from, when you do the alcove in the middle of where you've got the showers and stuff, whatever, or the bath, right? The mitre joints that he's done, so there's no trims. It's exactly like this. And then he'll take a ruler to it and measure it and show you it's from that top corner to the bottom, it's 1 mil. And for a tiler like that, he'll most probably charge you to do the whole bathroom rather than on a day rate, right? And a good tiler will charge you anything between, say, £2,000 to £4,000, depending on the size of the bathroom. Size of the tiles, detail, how many cuts you have, what you've got, whether you're having a shower floor or a tray, all those kind of things. But the tradesmen nowadays are making good money. They make
And
it.
the
Even brickies.
final one, yeah. Can't do it brickies at the moment. I'm not even going to get open that can of worms. I've got a lot going on. But final one, and just general day labourers.
Day labourers vary from like say 130 pounds to 180 pounds, depending on.
But collectively, it's all good money. It's
Yeah.
all good money. So it goes to show that for those that maybe are like in a place in their life where like they're starting out and they don't have maybe the funds to get into development or to do other things, but maybe you are good with your hands. Like learning a trade is a great way to firstly earn some really good money, secondly get some really good contacts, and then get a lot of information on the whole development scope because you get to talk to everybody.
Oh, 100. What you mentioned to learn and trade. So in around 2015, 2016, when business was a bit slow, this is just after I'd quit my job. And then when we've done one contract, the other contract hadn't come in, I said, what am I going to do? But a lot of people don't know, obviously close people, I'm a qualified electrician. So I phoned up the building, I think it's called the Building Trade Centre in Wadden. And I spoke to the guy there. And I kind of fibbed a small thing. And he goes, oh, you're an electrician. I said, yeah, I've been on site so many times. He goes, okay, well, you need at least a couple of years experience because we don't want to do novices. But I've been on site before. I've seen the sparkies. I've done like my own little sparks at home and stuff. And I said, yeah, I have. Anyway, so I'm now qualified as an NEIC registered electrician. And it comes handy, especially on site, because obviously if we get a new sparky on site and stuff, you can't pull the wool over my eyes because I know install works. Going back to that, there's a couple of young kids who've approached me just recently through Insta and who've been watching my WhatsApp stories and said, look, what's the best way of getting involved? And they said, in the summer holidays just now. And I said, look, if you want to be on site, just even with labor, because these people, they're interested in getting into the trade. Obviously, they don't have any skill or money at the moment. The best way to be on site is to be involved in and around where the project is going up and happening. And the best way to do that is to, whether you just want to come in as a laborer to help out, or if you have got a talent to, I don't know, just help with the plastering and learn a plaster. See if you can speak to anyone in your family who's a plumber or an electrician or a plasterer and say, can I be your helper for the day? Just to get on site. And that's how so for example, when I told you, when we was in kitchens and stuff, when I used to go to site, my manager used to get pissed off at me, and obviously because I used to work for him, he wanted me back in the showroom. But I would go to site to measure a site. It would only take about 20 minutes to measure a kitchen. But I would gladly, whoever's the builders on site, if they allowed me to ask questions about what's the size of the steel dust going on, what's the size of the footings that they put on, how do they plan to run I would make them tea if they wanted me to. I would give them biscuits. I would actually take biscuits and cakes. I realized that if I bought them food, builders love food. I used to just bring food to them.
Bring a nice chocolate digestive.
Yeah, literally. Because then that way, because I wanted to absorb knowledge. I just wanted to learn and understand, okay, if you're taking out a wall, what kind of support you have in there? What does it matter what size steels you've got, whether it's just a single extension? Then we learn, okay, if you've got a loft, then it's a different box frame, all these kind of things. And it's just self-taught.
And I think it's good as well, like for people that are in the trades, I know a lot of people that watch these podcasts, you should definitely be looking at the opportunity to use apprenticeships, because the apprenticeship schemes have been expanded, so you can take on more people. There's a lot of government funding to help, and it's an opportunity for people that have learned a trade to give back, but also be able to work alongside some of these great young people that want to get into property. Time's been flying, so I've got a couple more questions for you before I let you escape. What's been your favorite project you've worked on to date?
Oh, favorite in what sense?
You could decide, but it could be the one where you made a lot of money. It could be the one where
those ones are the best.
It could be sometimes it's the one where you didn't even expect to make any money, and last minute you found out, well, at least we broke even. I thought we was going to lose a lot.
One of the ones I suppose the first basement that we did. So we did in Fulham, we done 7 flats. And originally it was just going to be 5 flats when we looked at the plans and everything else. And then we saw that it had a lower ground floor. And at first we weren't really prepared for it because we hadn't done a basement before. And it was quite challenging because what happened, we started this project in COVID times, literally just before COVID, right? It was in 2020, we just started. And I think I said to Mitch, have we bitten off more than we can chew? Because the amount of steel that went into that place. And when I saw so you've got the basement, and you've got ground, then you've got first, then you got second, then you got third. Remember, prior to this, we done 6 flats in Chiswick, and that was a very, very large house, 4-story house, but we've done 6 flats. That's all internal, right? When you're building, like, say, a building, and you see the back end of it come out, or you see it in stages, right? And you think, wow, we're built like where you're in the midst of it. And you got to think that you, as a contractor, right? I am responsible. We had like 10 people on site. And I'm proving myself, because you are responsible for the health and safety of the people who live next door, there, the people that are on site. And some of my builders, they're very careful and stuff, but they just, some of them are just in their world, you know, just just walking around and stuff.
Like Brenton.
Yeah,
remember
literally.
We had to tie Brenton up because we put him on the roof, but we didn't trust that he might just walk off.
Literally. So I've got 1 or 2 people like that. And as you are responsible, so you're the owner. So I'm thinking, right. But as the build went on, when we're doing the basement, I'm thinking, oh, and it's a learning curve. So I'm picking up one of the things that I'm never afraid to do, and that I've made a lot of contacts through building control officers. And the reason I've done that is because if I don't know something, I won't pretend that I know it or bullshit. I'll just ask them. It's best to ask, because when you're making mistakes in this game, it can cost you not just a few £1,000s, hundreds of thousands of pounds, right? And so scalable. So I will, if I don't know, or if I was unsure about anything, I'll pick up the phone. And there's a guy called Ian Burgess. He was lovely. He used to work for a building company. He's like semi-retired now. And he, because he's been in the trade for so long, he was like a wealth of knowledge. And I used to love speaking to him, just ask him. And that's how we learn, okay, oh, that's how basements work. You got to dig this first, put these pins here, put this steel there, put that structure. Oh, you got to do the tanking first, the channel. So that was one of my favorite builds, because we learned how to do basement. Not only that, we then had full reins. When the client saw what we were able to do in the basement aspect of it, we were able to do whatever kitchens we wanted, whatever bathrooms we wanted, flooring, everything. So I got to interior design the full building. And at the end of it, it was still a headache building. It was still a big contract. We didn't make that much money, but purely because of what we had learned on that project made it exciting.
Yeah. Nice. Sounds good. Like, look, sounds super exciting. I'm going to see if we can get the social media team to include some of the pictures of some of your amazing projects that you worked on. Look, time has actually flown, so we don't have much time left. I
didn't even know there was a time of day.
Yeah,
I just looked at it now.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been super fun to obviously find out about your journey, where you've got to. Couple more questions about you now. So obviously, you mentioned earlier you take the gym quite seriously.
Yeah, everyone.
You've been boxing for a while.
For a while since I was.
How long have you been boxing for?
Oh, like since I was 10 years old, 12 years old.
So you still enjoy it? You still enjoy it?
I still hit the bag at least once or twice a week now.
Okay.
But
So
back in the day, I used to take it seriously.
When they start the property developer boxing, you're going to be involved.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yeah, 1,000,000%.
What weight are you? I'm going to be working as Eddie Hearn.
You know, today it was because I always think I'm lighter than I am. So even at gym today, I weighed myself. I think I weigh in at about 96.
Okay, no, I'm going to look around. I think got some 96 kg guys.
No, I'm 85. I'm 85. Yeah. No, but yeah, I'll float in between 90 and 95. I'll float between 90 and 95. But yeah, so I look, the other thing is, in regards to the gym and the structure of my routine and my day-to-day activity, I think the last 5 years have turned around and made a big difference. And like you see some of the time I message you on WhatsApp in the morning, right? I am an avid for this, because if you apply structure to your life, it can be a game changer. And you always see these people on Instagram and on TikTok, and they say you need to wake up at this time and do this and do that, and you think to yourself, oh, that's a faff. Why, but I am that person now, because what happened? It's actually changed my life.
So what time do you get up now?
I get up at 4:15 every day.
And then talk to me about your morning.
I'm literally basically. So I would. So the other game changer. What changed my life around for me was to be able to get up in the morning so I can go to pray. So as a being a Muslim and stuff, we pray 5 times a day. Most people pray at home and what have you. But obviously, I have a very close friend to me. At the time that I wasn't doing too well, or mentally, I wasn't in a good place. And he said, look, you need to start praying in the masjid. I said, okay, cool. And then obviously in the summertime and stuff, that's at early doors when you're leaving your house. So I made or structured my life around the prayer time. And when you do it for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, after a year, it becomes a habit. It's very easy now. So I would get up at 4:15 Okay, I'll start the night before. So going to bed, I don't have any form of, you tried to call me at night time as well. My phone goes on to do not disturb at 8 o'clock. I don't like taking calls, right? I'll put it aside. If it's an emergency, you still got another hour, but usually do not disturb at 8. I'll put my phone away so there's no blue screen. I would normally read a book. At the moment, I've just finished off Atomic Habits. I'm just reading Psychology of Money just now. So I would have a book that I would read for about 15, 20 minutes. Then I've got a notepad next to me and I'll do a to-do list of what's the most important thing that I need to do in the morning when I wake up. When I'm up at 4:15, I would literally just go downstairs and stretch for about 5-10 minutes. The other thing is, I told this to someone, they found this very weird, but it helps. Everyone's different. And then after I've had just boiling water and some honey, I would lay flat on the floor. So I'm not on a sofa or anything, in the floor. And I just stare at the ceiling for 5 minutes. Okay. Literally, I've been doing that for about a year. People find it very strange. I know you're smiling like, what the fuck?
Because I've got to think, if I'm ever like, I'm in the same place, I'll just find you in the morning lying at the ceiling. I might put you in a recovery position.
Literally, I'm just laying on the floor and I stare at the ceiling for 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes is, I've already done my to-do list. I know what I'm doing. It's just form of gratification, being grateful of where I am in life, how I got here, and just literally I feel like my body's feeling heavy and just chill. Then I get up, right? And then I'll go and have some honey toast, have some breakfast, get ready, do 1 or 2 emails of the things that I said I would do on my to-do list and head out to pray. As soon as I've come back from prayer, at that time, I've had my pre-workout. I'm phoning Mudge, say, listen, Mudge, you ready? Mudge is sleeping most times. He's like, no, not today. I said, no, listen, we need to go. And I'd head out for gym. And then once we've been to the gym and come back, our day starts. And we would basically do our day-to-day site visits. Or if I've got emails to do, I'll come back. My dining table is my office. I'll work from there. If not, we'll head to Tower Bridge and we'll basically set up site there. And we would try to normally finish the day, most of our work, by about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I've done everything that's important to me or that can make me money in that time. Then after that, it's just calls and planning for the next day or the day after. And then I can go home and spend some time with the kids.
That's nice.
And I think that, and then that way you're a lot more chilled. Okay. Like me, a lot more chilled.
That's nice. Final question before I let you go. I spoke about obviously enjoying gym, enjoying what you do in the development space and eating. But you also like cars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How many cars do you currently have?
8.
8. Do you feel that's necessary?
Do you know what? So the guy I was speaking to, I was with when I just come back from Umrah, and I said, look, I'm blessed to a certain extent. I don't have like very flashy cars and stuff. I'm not going out to buy like, say, Lambos and Galados and anyone that's seen me, I've never splashed them over Instagram or anything like that. I've loved cars since I was young. I've purchased cars that I couldn't afford at the time when I used to drool over them. It was my dream.
What's your favorite car at the moment?
My E46 M3, which I've just spent an awful lot of money just restoring on. It's a manual, it's a coupe. I've done it like a CSL because I didn't want to just go down the CSL route. It's the noise. A lot of things that I post on Instagram, people see. I like not just cars. I like how or what a specific car can make you feel, how it can make you feel. So to give you an idea, that's another thing people think I'm weird, apart from laying on the ceiling, is that sometimes if you want to clear your head where there's nothing but you and the car, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning if it's dark, especially where it's dark now. I'll leave my house very quietly, jump in my car, even though it's loud and people get awake, and I'll just go for a drive. I'll literally go for a blast.
But that's your like,
literally, that's my focus. And I will drive the car as it's supposed to be driven. Yeah, in a way where I think in my head I'm a racing driver or whatever. And the night time or that time is the best time to do it because of legal reasons. I'm still keeping to the speed limit, but it's just one of those things. And the other thing is, it's a form of rewarding yourself. So every time we've closed a contract, so the biggest contract we did, I remember when I was about to buy the Porsche, yeah, and actually, I already had a Porsche. I had a Porsche Macan. I had the Jeep, right? And it was in for a service at West London Porsche. And I remember this clear as day. And then we walked into the showroom and I said, Mudge, you know what? Next thing, I swear we need to get one of these. And I was looking at the new 911, the GT3 RS. And he's like, yeah. I said, inshallah. I said, look, one day, let's just, I'm telling you, we can get that. And he goes, nah. Then next to it, there was the Taycan. And the Taycan, because it was the Cross Turismo, the new hat, it looked like some Batman car in black.
Yeah, no, the Taycan's nice.
And I was like, and he's like, would you like know this? And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay. I said, let's just go for this. Anyway, lo and behold, literally 3 months later, I was in a position, I've never been in this position, and said, okay, look, I want to be able to buy that car. I walked into the showroom and I said, look, can we buy that? They're like, no. And I was like, why not? They're like, oh, there's a waiting list. And I was like, I was pissed. And I was like, look, so I think it was up for like 115 grand, 120 grand. I said, look, I'll pay you 5 grand. I said, let me speak to the manager. They wouldn't let me speak to the manager. Then after the sales manager called me, I said, look, I'll pay you 125. Like, no, I went up to 130K. I said, look, you've it's above list. You can sell it. You've got another one coming in next week. They won't sell it. But by that time, I was like a kid in a switch because I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
So I called a broker. Someone sourced one for me. And before it was actually Opulence's 6-year birthday. Sorry, 7-year birthday. And it was a reward to myself because we completed a contract, and we bought that. And along that line now, there's another M5, another M3. There's an E30. There's a coupe Pininfarina, even a truck. You see my truck, so we ain't got no normal truck. It's like a monster truck. So we put high lifts on it and arches, and we've got Bentley quilted leather interior in that. So yeah, I think, but it is to reward yourself from what we've achieved in terms of the builds that we've done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not been all fun and game. Like Mudge is not here. I know that he's Mark Cody, right? When we've done a project in the past before, when we used to do just kitchens and bathrooms and stuff, and the client wasn't happy, we was on our hands and knees cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the bathroom, taking all the paint off things and stuff where other people have messed up. Do you know what I mean? Coming home late at 11 o'clock, doing these kind of things on weekends. And it is that graft and that kind of attitude we had at the very beginning when the business hadn't taken off that has got to where we are now.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing advice, just the understanding that, you have to go through the trials, tribulations and struggles.
Oh, yeah.
It's not always get rich quick. But also I think with that is also reminding yourself that you don't always have to be downtrodden, and you can reward yourself at points.
Oh, yeah.
And actually smell the roses, so to speak, at different points of your journey. I think that's a great place to leave it. We may have to do a part 2 for this. So if you have enjoyed it, make sure you let us know in the comment section, because we've spoken really all about your journey as a mains contractor, but haven't actually really spoken about you transitioning to being a developer yourself. If people want to reach out to you, if they want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
On Insta, I'm on Daniels_Cans. It's not under Opulence yet. That's my personal account, but you can hit me up and DM message me, ask you any questions, no problem.
Connect with you on there. All right. Well, we appreciate you watching till the end of this episode. If you haven't already, you make sure you subscribe. If you've got any questions for myself or Dan, let us know in the comment section. And we're going to be back next week for another amazing episode. Peace.